Hi everyone, this is going to be a bit of a longer video today about impression formation and management, and we're covering quite a few important key ideas and areas of learning from our outline. So really important that you understand these concepts. So just to kind of give you an idea of how these will fit together, you have kind of your overall branch of impressions. You've then got how impressions are formed and managed, and under management you've got something called self-handicapping. So that's what we'll be going through today. So let's start with impression formation, so how impressions are formed. Now we have access to others' personalities through verbal and non-verbal cues. So some verbal cues or verbal communication, this is the context of what is being said, or the content of what is being said and its context. So your verbal communication can involve things like swearing or being polite, using slang colloquialisms, or being quite formal. And your non-verbal communication can indicate a range of things. So having visible cues or paralinguistic cues, and we'll go through these now. So some visible cues that can impact how you make an impression, or the impression that you make, is distance. So being close to someone is friendly, you don't want to be too close, but being quite far away is a bit uncomfortable. Gestures, it's really important to understand context and culture here, and we'll talk about that in a second. Try not to cross your legs, as it comes across as a bit defensive, and it's good to nod along just because it shows that you're agreeing with someone or you're interested as well. If you're trying to make a good impression, try and keep your posture nice and tall so it's confident, and avoid hunching over, because it shows that you lack confidence. Two very important points for oral presentations. Try and maintain eye contact, and again this depends on the context. You don't want to be staring someone down. Now to have eye contact can show that you are interested, that you're friendly, but it can also show that you're a bit threatening, so if you make too much eye contact. To make no eye contact shows that you're either not interested or that you're maybe shy or frightened if you're avoiding eye contact. Now facial expressions, that's an obvious one, a smile or frown. And physical appearance, so what kind of clothing you wear, what kind of accessories. So if you're going to a job interview, these are some of the visible cues that you can use, and in particular you want to make sure that you're wearing, clothing and accessories that are fit for that job that you're applying for. Now unfortunately, with visible cues, it does stick to stereotypes that being attractive is seen as good. Particularly think about growing up looking at fairy tales. The good person, usually the princess and the prince, they're quite attractive, and the bad or evil person is usually quite unattractive. So this one on the left I love, and it's kind of talking about the distance at which you would hold a door open for someone. So nice and close, that's friendly. It starts getting really awkward, and even more awkward the further away they are. This I think is hilarious as well, because mostly because of the definition, but just to show you as well that it can mean something different in every culture. So it can mean that you are telling someone that their wife is cheating on them, which is very different to how we would use this symbol. Now paralinguistic cues, this is variation in speech. So not so much the words that are spoken, but so it's not what you said, it's the way you said it. Okay, you've probably heard that before, and here's Joey saying it on the right. It's the emphasis and inflection, and these can really change the meaning of words. So I want you to write down, you love to eat broccoli. And one by one, I want you to emphasize one word at a time. So the first one would be, you love to eat broccoli. The second one would be, you love to eat broccoli. And keep going through and experiment with each of them, and jot down a few of the different meanings that you get from each of those. So things like emphasis, inflection, pitch, volume, rhythm, and hesitations, these all change, the impression that you're making. Now, a really cool study, if you are interested, was conducted by Ash in 1946, so feel free to look that one up for more information. So we've covered impression formation now, so how impressions are formed. Really good to go back on that one if you are heading to an interview anytime soon. Very handy tips. And now we're going to talk about how you manage the impression that you make. So managing yourself verbally and non-verbally is how you would manage an impression, and you want to create a good and lasting impression. So in doing this, everything you do This is everything you do in an effort to control the way that others see you. So you've got to be careful in that you want to make a good impression, but you don't want to come off as really calculating. So you want to come off as really sincere, but also not too sincere. If you're going to a job interview and you know that you're really disorganized and late, you're probably not going to lead with that and be really sincere and tell them about that. You kind of want to land somewhere on that continuum. So a really great quote that I heard from one of my favourite TV shows, Suits, I think sums this up quite well. So he said, "When I got here," as in his workplace, "I dominated. They thought I worked 100 hours a day. Now, no matter what time I get in, nobody questions my ability to get the job done. Get it through your head. First impressions last. You start behind the 8 ball and you'll never get in front." Not only does that really relate to this content we're talking about, but I think it's really important as well, you guys going out into the workforce, just to remember that kind of work ethic that you want to take with you and the impressions that you want to make on people for the first time. So what is impression management? We manage it with verbal and non-verbal communication, as we said. So non-verbal is things like clothing, hairstyle, the eye contact, firm handshake, positive body language, to show that you like the person. And verbal communication is one of two ways. This is a bit different to impression formation. Making statements that increase your own appeal, so saying really good things about yourself in an interview, like I'm a really great team player, I'm always really organized, I'm a hard worker, etc., etc. And the second thing you can do is make statements that make the other person feel good. Okay, you often see this, particularly in dating, there's a lot of complimenting and flattery involved because you're trying to manage the impression that you are making. Okay, so this is that little subset on our chart that we looked at earlier, self-handicapping. Now this is an impression management strategy, and it's a way that people protect their self-image and the image that they want to present or project to others. Okay. Now self-handicapping is making excuses for why you might fail something you are about to do. Okay, so this happens before the activity, before you've even succeeded or failed. Self-handicapping happens before, and it's an excuse for failure. So if you fail, well, you've got an excuse because you've already self-handicapped, or if you succeed, well, you just get even more credit. So real handicapping is if something has happened to potentially affect your performance. So if you were going to gym, and say, for example, when I go to gym and I'm not feeling well, I would tell my trainer, look, I'm really not well today. I've come down with a cold. All right. And so if I'm not training very well, that trainer's going to know that it's because I'm handicapped, I'm ill, or I'm injured, okay, or something. Okay. Now, artificial handicapping is what we're kind of talking about here. This is making an excuse for potentially poor performance, and it's lying. Okay, so it's fake. So this would be me going to the gym and telling my trainer, look, I've hurt my ankle. It's really sore, and it's really not. It's just that if I don't do very well, I don't want the trainer to think I'm really unfit and embarrassing. It's just that I'm lying about it, right? I'm artificially self-handicapping. Okay. Now this can lead to poor self-esteem, and excuses can also be relied on too heavily. So I want you to think about situations where you might self-handicap, write them down so we can share them in class, and have a bit of a think about whether you might rely on these excuses a little bit too often. Right? Self-handicapping can also lead to reduced performance. All right, so here's a bit of a funny cartoon for you about a cyclist who is a bit of a hypochondriac, really. He's just saying that there's all these things wrong with him. My allergies are so bad I can hardly breathe over here, I haven't been sleeping well, I've got this stomach bug, and this guy's he's had enough, he's leaving. And this one says, cyclists have an oddly inverse relationship with the truth when there are butts to kick. So when it's come to the crunch and they're trying to race, this guy's just handicapped in all these different ways. And the funny bit at the end, he said, also I seem to have no pulse. Okay, so it's a real case of self-handicapping there. All right, so we covered a few things today. Make sure that you've set them out correctly in your book so that it's not just, I guess, a list of notes. You want to make sure that you're categorizing under subheadings. And if you want any more information, please see the resources or me. See you guys.